It's taking full responsibility, being responsible for everything that happens to you and being responsible for everything that does not happen to you.
This is the Own It Show, where we tell stories of how everyday people made ownership theirs.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another week of the Own It Show. I'm your host, Justin Rothling-Schofer. And if you're new here, I really encourage you to take a look back. This is going to be episode 247. So we've been doing this for a while. We've got a little bit under our belt, and we've got a whole bunch of content that's just waiting for you to dig in. So make sure when you go and listen, you post it, you tag us, you let us know whether you've liked it, whether you haven't liked it, send it out to somebody, share it, because that's the only way that people know we exist. The more that we get people out there, the more that we can continue to put our content out, the more we can impact and change our lives in a positive way. So be sure to leave a comment, be sure to like, be sure to share, and let us know how we can continue to serve you in a greater way. Last week, we had an amazing guest series, really coming to conclusion, where we talked about really what does it mean to look at the whole soul, the whole person when you're operating. And we talked about that we are all souls having a human experience rather than a human being having a real life experience. And when we look at what the soul's made up of, mind, body, spirit, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress, that all of these things interact, and our body actually doesn't know the difference between each one of these stressors, and that it actually comes out and is displayed through a bunch of different symptoms and signs that if we're not in tune with what our body's actually going through, we end up with a whole slew of chronic issues that can throw us off our game. And that's really what it's all about, is being able to help you as the business owner, the entrepreneur, the executive, be able to be the CEO of your own life, CEO of your body, and understand the language that your body's communicating with you, because your body does communicate with you every single day. It's just in languages that we maybe have never heard of before. And that's okay, because we've never been taught it. And so today we're bringing on Dr. Jimmy Yen, who has really been just so amazing in this space as well, being the founder and CEO of a integrative health and wellness facility in Austin, diving deep into restorative health. When you're really looking at acupuncture and Eastern medicines and bringing them to one known spot. And I think that's what's so cool, is being able to learn from somebody like this who's spent so much time in being able to become a master at something and knowing what's actually going on with your health so you can restore it in a natural way is really powerful. So Dr. Jimmy, it's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm grateful for your time, energy, and knowledge that you're going to be putting out into our ecosystem and to our listeners.
Well, thank you for having me. Definitely, it's an honor to be on the show. And just like a plug of, I actually listened to one of the shows about, I think it was with Jason, of marketing, advertising.
Yeah.
It was really good insights. It was talking about stories, which we're going to get into a little bit about stories today also. But definitely, for the listeners, check out some of the previous shows, because they're definitely insightful. And I loved a couple of things that you shared already that I'm going to just steal from you, because they're actually really phenomenal. One of them is the CEO of your body. Yeah, I've never even thought about that. But that's, makes it hits it to the point, is we all need to be the CEO of our body. I mean, we know we're the CEO of our business, but when the number one business that we are in charge of is our body. And if you don't, take care of the number one business, you're not going to be able to take care of your number two business, whatever that business is. And so definitely, I like to say, how you are psychologically is going to affect you physiologically. And vice versa. How you are physiologically is going to affect you psychologically. And they both intertwine. And that's, getting to, really understand your body. And another thing that I love what you said is the language of our body. That is actually beautiful. Yeah, our body speaks to us every single second. And, the more we learn that language, the more we understand our body, the more we can be proactive because that's what really, natural medicine is about, is being proactive, not reactive. The current medical model is about being reactive. Many of y'all probably have gone to your doctors and you get your blood test and they're saying, oh, everything's normal. Well, no, not everything's normal. You went in there for a reason. Something, your body was already speaking to you in a language that maybe you just didn't understand yet. And so it was already talking to you. And if you just listen to it, you can actually prevent diseases from actually happening. So, just first 5 minutes, and I've already got nuggets from from this show. So thank you.
100%. And I'm even going to start to pair on to what you just talked about, because when you're being the CEO of your body, we think about being the CEO of our business, and we take in different types of languages all the time. We're going to speak marketing language. We're going to speak advertising language. We're going to speak branding language. We're going to speak financial language. We're going to speak client acquisition language. We're going to speak the language of all of our different teammates. We know that we can't say the same things. It is all going to have to be deduced down. There's numerical language. There's actual spoken words language. There's visual, the way that we body language. All of these types of things are different languages that we're pulling in to help be the CEO of our business that we have to know. But our body has a language. And in order to be the CEO of our body, we have to understand that. And you're exactly right, Dr. Jimmy. If we are not able to put being the CEO of our body first, we are not going to be available to be the CEO of our business second. And I take this quote from Ed Milet all the time. He talks about the power of one more. And I said, how unfortunate would it be if your power of one more, your opportunity for one more, came 20 years earlier than it should have, simply because you didn't know the language of your body. You didn't know how to be that CEO. You didn't know how to prioritize and put you first, so your body second, or yourself first, your business second, so that you could ultimately gain an asset of time to do more with that business, to have more impact. And so I'm really excited for this episode. Guys, if you are listening right now and this has already been beneficial to you, just leave a comment and share it with somebody, because I'm telling you, this episode will change the way that you think about your body, you think about how you operate, you think about what your body's actually worth, and how you can actually put things into place right away. So this is going to speak into a lot of different people, I feel, today, and it's going to be a real blessing. So Dr. Jimmy, I'd love for you to give our audience a little bit of an insight into your background. And as we talk about the language of your body and being the CEO of your body, how, by utilizing things within your background and gaining this knowledge set and making it simple and concise, can take people on a trajectory that they would have never even expected.
Yeah, so I'll start with, what's very important is my upbringing, and it has to do with my dad. So my dad struggled in his early probably 20s and 30s, struggled with his health and went through the medical route, because that's what everybody does. And so he goes to the doctors, listens to his doctors, and, of course, medication. Let's try this first. And then if that doesn't work, let's try another one. And what's worse is if it does work. Now here's a little twist. What's worse is if it actually works, right? Because for those of y'all who don't know, medication. Now, I'm not anti-Western medicine. I love Western medicine, because if I'm in a car accident, then I'm going to Western medicine. So, totally. It's not about, whether I'm for Western medicine or not. I am for it. But for, restoring your health, restoring your organ function, Western medicine that's not their strength. And so going back to my dad, he had some sinus issues, and the physicians gave him medication, and one didn't work, tried another one. Finally, they found one that worked. So he just kept on taking that medication. And here's the problem with that, is it worked. And then, so he didn't do anything else. He still did his normal, lifestyle routine, eating crap, not resting, not taking care of his mental health, not taking care of his physical health, because now the medication masked all the symptoms of his discomfort. So he thought he was good. And so over time, he developed a resistance to that medication. So of course, what's he going to do? He's going to go back to the physician, and then they just keep on put him on stronger and stronger steroids and blah, blah, blah. It got to a point where he needed surgery now. See, all that time could have been a 10-year period. He could have been doing something to prevent all of it if he had known the information. And it was at that time around his 30s that he actually said, okay, talking about your show, he wants to own his own body. He wants to take ownership of his own body. So he started researching, and he's like, what can I do? What can I do for my own health? Because all these doctors aren't doing anything to help me restore my health. And so that's when he started getting into natural medicine. And as he gave birth to me, and my parents gave birth to me, I have been, I would say, brainwashed with natural medicine from day one. Like stuff like you are what you eat, I've been brainwashed by that my whole life.
There's no coming back for Dr. Jimmy. Dr. Jimmy's in it.
Exactly. And so that's how I've grown up, right? And so, and also within the, I'm Taiwanese. And so in the Taiwanese culture, we have Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, which is natural medicine. And a lot of that medicine is in your daily living. So that's just in my culture. So I grew up in that atmosphere, in that environment. So it was an easy transition for me after I went to college. I went to become an acupuncturist, and now I practice traditional Chinese medicine. And so our whole focus, in traditional Chinese medicine, and I would say all natural medicine, it's all focused on restoring your God-given ability. We were built perfectly. I would say majority of the population, the human body was built perfectly. Why do I say that? When you go cut yourself, you don't need to do anything. You just watch the body do its job. It will heal it. It's just like magic, right? It was built perfectly. We just messed it up along the way. But here's the good part. If your body was able to heal itself before, that means it still has that capability.
Good.
You just need to find a way to get back to where it was before. So that's the beauty of the body. And so, yeah. The Chinese medicine is one way. There's Ayurvedic medicine. There's homeopathic. There's so many different natural medicines out there.
It's so unique, and anybody who listens to this knows that I'm deep. I go deep into the scriptures for the truth and the component of it, and it's in 1 Samuel, they talk about thus far God has been faithful. And that example that you just said of thus far our body has been able to heal itself. Thus far our body has been able to restore itself. But yet for some reason we're like, oh, no, now I've got to go I've got to go put some foreign substance into my body. Oh, no, I'm going to go and live in misalignment with what I know my body is needing. And somehow we expect ourselves to continue to be able to be healthy, quote unquote, and have energy and be able to sleep well and all of these things. But if we really come back to the nature and the core basis of our bodies, thus far, our bodies have been able to do everything necessary. We've been able to, without us even trying, we've been able to maintain life. And I think that is just this very unique thing that you just talked about, is that, and I don't want this to go unnoticed here, where you talk about Chinese medicine is all about restoring health. Naturopathic medicine is all about restoring health. And there's a big difference between acute and chronic.
Yes.
And when you're talking about a car accident, or you're talking about breaking your arm, or you're talking about having a deep eye infection, like Western medicine, lay it on me, baby. Where are you? But all of a sudden, everything else, let's figure out what your body needs. Let's play your game and not the guru's game. Let's understand your language of what's actually being said to us, so that we can ultimately settle in to a routine that fits your lifestyle, that fits what your needs, your deepest desires are, so it becomes sustainable.
Yeah. I like to, when you were saying, it reminded me, a picture came into my brain. So we've had dogs, my whole life. And one of the things that I remember as a child is when a dog is sick, he has the instinct to go out and eat some herbs and grass. I mean, it's because he listens to his body. He understands. And the human body is exactly the same. These symptoms that our bodies are giving us, it's not a bad thing. Like pain is not a bad thing. Pain is a beautiful thing. Yes, it hurts like crap, but it's a beautiful thing. Why? Because it's telling you something's wrong. You need to either look under the hood and figure out, first of all, you got to stop doing what you're doing because it's causing the pain. And then you need to go investigate. And that's like we were talking about, the language of the body. The body speaks to us. It's not telling us to cover it up. It's telling us, okay, here, something's wrong here, and let's go do this. Like the dog. The dog gets sick. He goes to eat some grass, eat some herbs, and he's better. It's the same thing with the human body. If we just listen to our body, we can actually treat a lot of things by ourselves very quickly.
You're exactly right. And so something else that kind of came up for me during that, I want to go back to that comment, was that it's the medicine that works that's the issue, is because we really don't get to the root cause of what's going on. And I've come across thousands of people, and it literally, it breaks my heart is what it does when I see these people come in and they are expecting a pill, or they're expecting a supplement, or they're expecting a to-do list or a to-do checklist that's going to get them out of whatever suffering, pain, or symptom they're feeling. But yet they're not willing to change a lifestyle. They're not willing to rest. They're not willing to back off some of the stress that's in their life. They're just not willing to, but yet they think that the outcome's going to be different. They think that it would be like a child who continues to touch a hot burner, but doesn't think that they're going to get burned after a while. Well, no, son, you got to turn the burner off and wait until it cools, and then you can go back and touch it and it's fine. But no, you're just going to keep your lifestyle riding hot and expect not to get burned when you keep coming back to it. And I think being able to understand that if you want change to happen, you have to do things differently. You have to look at the body differently. You have to listen to the body differently. That work, or that attention, has to be made purposeful and intentional, which is also why, and we can go on, I don't want to go on a tangent about this, but this is also why when we get into like even the practitioners in this space who start to just give cookie cutter approaches to everything, no matter what testing is or isn't done, you've got somebody on the other end, a human being who's like, I'm begging for a solution and I'm willing to create change. I'm willing to do things differently. And I'm going to try something I've never done before. But yet they got something that was cookie cutter, was not built for them, was not specific to them, was not what they needed. And now they go through something and they still see the same results that they were getting with the general crap they were doing to begin with, which lessens their belief, lessens their trust, lessens all of these things that ultimately they're feeling day in and day out. And that's been all the listeners know that's been my mission since day one, is being able to eliminate confusion and create the time energy shield around people so that they get their plans. And I know, Dr. Jimmy, that's been your goal and intention with your practice and your work at Achieve Integrated Health as well.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, because about supplements, because that's how I believe. I mean, I distribute supplements, right? But what you just said, people are looking for another pill. A supplement is still a pill. Yes, it's technically more natural, although there's synthetic supplements, so it's still a chemical. But just because it's a supplement doesn't mean it's I would say restorative, right? And so, and another thing is like what you said. People looking to reach doing the same thing. That reminded me of what Einstein said. If you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, by definition, you are insane. Okay. And so, we have to try something different. And, and that brought me to another thought was COVID. COVID actually helped. In a sense, it helped some people realize they need to make a change. They need to take a different approach. Right. And I say that because, I mean, yes, a lot of people's health declined with COVID. That's another weird thing. They had more time to exercise, more time to cook, more time to spend with their family, more time to do everything. But yet the opposite happened. People got worse. Their health got worse. But at the same time, on the other spectrum, something else changed too. There was a group of people, a large group of people, they started shifting towards, okay, there's got to be something better.
Yeah.
It can't just be, okay, I'm going to go get an injection. I'm going to go get a pill. There's got to be something better. I should be able to help my own body. And so I saw a shift of people looking for natural health, looking to take control, looking to own their own body. And the reason why I say that is just from my own clinic statistics, our business grew by 40% because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so, because we saw that shift, which was very encouraging for me.
It's amazing. Going back to even what you were discussing about supplementation, something I often come back to and I discuss is whether it's a tool or whether it's a supplement, if it's not paired with life change or lifestyle adjustment, they're just the drug. So it doesn't matter if it's a opiate, it doesn't matter if it's a medication that's prescribed, it doesn't matter what that drug is. A tool like red light, a tool like a sauna, a tool like a cold plunge, a tool like a supplement like NAD or a multivitamin, if it's not paired with lifestyle adjustment, it's just a drug. It's no better than anything else because you'll be addicted to something that isn't actually creating the holistic change. And that I think is just that right there, listeners, is something to take deep consideration into as you start adding some things to your lifestyles, as you start picking up certain habits. Understand, is this something that's like holistically changing my life and what I'm doing and the education that I'm leading myself into and understanding my body better? Or is it just another thing that I'm adding? Is it just another drug, quote unquote, if you're listening through audio only? If this just another quote unquote drug that I'm instituting into my day-to-day routine? And that I think becomes really powerful.
Yeah. Actually, the analogy I like to use, even for my patients in my clinic, right? Even though acupuncture, Chinese herbs are, restorative, but one thing that we tell our patients is we don't want to be another crutch for you. We are here to help you get off of your crutches and for you to be able to walk your life by yourself, heal your body by yourself. Even though we are natural, we still don't want to be another crutch for you. That is not our goal. And that's what separates our clinic from all the other clinics, is that we focus on removing ourselves as a crutch. So we graduate our patients. We say, hey, we're going to give you the tools. And I love what you said. It has to be a lifestyle change. It has to be not just a lifestyle change. It has to be a mental change, a mental shift, because if you don't change here, nothing else physically is going to change. So until you actually, own up, become responsible for your own health and make those lifelong changes for the long term, not the short term, long term, right? You're always going to need a crutch, whether it's medicine, whether it's natural medicine. So really the first key is to be able to own it mentally. That's crucial.
You're exactly right. And that's why, listeners, as we talk about this, is mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. When you're talking about health, you can look amazing aesthetically. You can have great six-pack abs. You can have bulging muscles, but you can be the lowest level of health that you've ever been in your life. Conversely, you could be the most mentally tough, the most mentally acute, most mentally astute person, and still be that and still be holistically healthy, a disaster. It is the true component of everything together. How does this all four of these braids intertwine to become unbreakable? That's somebody living in true ownership. That's somebody who's been able to take ownership of their bodies, responsibility of themselves, and look in and go, you know what? Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, where am I not meeting the mark? Where am I falling short? Where's my weak points that I need to lean into, that my body's communicating to me? Am I not able to handle the stress at work? Do I need to look into some things emotionally and mentally that I need to be better at? Am I carrying more weight than I should, and I'm running out of energy middle of the afternoon? Do I need to look into my holistic or to my physical health component? Or spiritually, am I not aligned with a bigger purpose? Do I not have a relationship with our creator? Do I not know what direction I'm trying to go? And it's maybe spiritually that we feel empty. And a good indicator there is that you got the house, you got the money, you got the car, you got the relationship, you got the body, and it's still not enough. And so these are all the things mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally that we have to holistically integrate together to truly understand what true health is. Dr. Jimmy, I'd love to kind of ask you and kind of come back more into your practice and your work, how you work with these business owners and what you've started to see, and these people that continually achieve high levels, continually put out amazing work, continually show up as a high performing individual, but yet there's something missing. There's something that they haven't quite mastered yet.
Yeah. So there's, what I mentioned very early on in this show is your psychological will affect your physiological, and your physiological health will affect your psychological health. So we help in my clinic, we focus on the physiological. And so what I mean by that is organ function, because I'm going to make it very simple. Your body heals because of your organs. As long as your organs are functioning at optimal levels, your body will self-heal. Now, your organs don't just control the physical part. They control your mental part too. So, for example, your heart function will affect your mental acuity, right? Your liver function will affect your ability to manage, I would say, anger, right? So each organ can affect you emotionally. Now, we can get into more detail and say, for example, in a chemical standpoint, 90% of your serotonin is actually produced in your intestines. So if your intestinal health is crappy, that's why you feel crappy, literally, right? And so, but if your intestinal health is good, you're going to feel great because you have more serotonin pumping through your bloodstream. So that's what I mean by physical can affect your mental. So in our clinic, we focus on identifying which of your organs are not at optimal health. And then we find that one, and then we go and do two things. Very simple. We provide that organ with more nutrition. And the second thing we do is we make sure that organ is eliminating waste. Just like our human body, we need to eat, we need to poop, right? Your organs need to do the exact same thing. They need to eat, which is nutrition, and they need to poop, which is decrease inflammation. And if we can do that, those organs will naturally restore function. And guess what? They will regain back control of all of the functions that they are responsible for in your body.
When you talk about taking in proper nutrition and you talk about then eliminating toxins through the different organ sets, what do you see as probably one of the most common symptoms that people with something who's not operating at a high function kind of display? And then second, what do you see as the main mechanism that the main organ site or the main area that's typically causing this? And then thirdly, what lifestyle component or stress zoning component has ultimately caused that?
Yeah. So let's see, I'm just writing down notes. Cause. So the first symptom I would say is energy. And we're talking about, so if we're talking about, let me just pinpoint it down to, let's say, CEOs or business owners, right? Or entrepreneurs, people starting their business, running their business. Energy is the number one thing, right? That we see go up and down. And that shows a lot of signs. I mean, can lead to, I would say, one of the organs that's the most important for energy. They're all important. Okay. Every organ affects your energy, but one of the most important ones is your adrenal glands. These are the organs that sit on top of your kidneys, right? They're very small, but they secrete a lot of hormones. And then one hormone that everybody knows, adrenaline, that's secreted by these little adrenal glands. And another hormone in the weight loss industry, cortisol, it's also secreted by this little organ, right? And so I'm not sure if everybody knows, there's a mechanism in our body. It's called the sympathetic, response, which is fight or flight, which basically means if a dog was chasing you, trying to bite you, you are in a sympathetic mode, which is fight or flight. You're running away or you're going to fight the dog, right? That is induced by these organs called the adrenal glands. They secrete adrenaline, they secrete cortisol in response to stress, right? Now, stress is not necessarily bad stress. You could have good stress, and these organs will still secrete adrenaline, and they'll still secrete cortisol, right? So energy is one thing. The organ is the adrenal gland. And to answer your third question, there's a lot of things. It's not, I would say stress is the number one thing that causes these organs to malfunction. Because when you're in these days today, we don't have a tiger chasing us every day. What we do have is stress chasing us every day, right? And that could be, there's three types of stress. When I say stress, most people think, oh, emotional stress. Oh, my wife is stressing me out. My boss is stressing me out. My customer is stressing me out. That's just one stress. That's emotional stress. There's also physical stress. Physical stress is not enough exercise or too much exercise. Both create physical stress, right? And that physical stress will also still stimulate your adrenal glands to secrete the adrenaline and cortisol, right? So not enough exercise, too much exercise. Not enough exercise was a big problem in COVID because everybody was on the computer, webinars, everybody was on Zoom meetings all the time, right? Too much exercise is like what you were saying. The people with the six packs, the muscles and all that stuff, they look so good. They're exercising and over-exercising, over-stressing their body, right? They're taxing their adrenal glands also, right? And so the third stress is chemical stress. Chemical stress is everything you put in your mouth or on your skin or you breathe. All of this is chemical stress. But the biggest culprit is what we put in our mouth, which is our diet. And also, if you're putting a lot of medications every day, that's a chemical stress. Too much supplements, that's also chemical stress. Eating junk food, eating chemicals, eating the wrong foods, eating sugar, right? Those are all chemical stress. All three of those stresses will cause your adrenal glands doesn't care what kind of stress it's being attacked by. If it's getting stressed out, it secretes adrenaline and it secretes the cortisol. And that's why you'll see these CEOs, they'll get a surge of energy and then it drops really quick. And then the second most culprit is what do they reach for? Coffee, right? So now that's a chemical stress.
That's another chemical.
Exactly.
Another stimulant.
Exactly. So they're just constantly stressing their adrenal glands all day.
And then how do they calm down at night?
Yeah. Pills.
Alcohol.
Oh, true. Yes. Alcohol. And alcohol, the funny thing about alcohol is both a sedative and a stimulant. That's why they'll wake up between 1 to 2 a.m. They'll fall asleep with alcohol, but they'll wake up between 1 to 3 a.m. Around during those times. And then it's just constant like that. And then you do that for over 10 years, then you have something called adrenal fatigue, which means you overwork your adrenal glands for 10 years. So 100%. That's the typical lifestyle of an entrepreneur.
It's so great to be able to see that, because then as listeners, as you're out there, I know Dr. Jimmy started to talk about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. And you've heard me talk about HRV and heart rate variability nonstop. And the education, if you go back, I think probably 50 or 60 episodes. But there's one I did where I broke down HRV completely for you guys. And when you take a look at it, we often think about stress as a light switch where, like Dr. Jimmy said, I need to turn my light switch on and I need to turn my light switch off. No, we need to understand that stress is everywhere. Stress is everything. It's a dimmer switch. It's just where on the spectrum does it fall? It's not on or off. It's just how much.
Yes.
And so when it's chronic and we are constantly sympathetically overload, we actually have a number that can show us that, and that's HRV. It can guide us on this. It can help us understand, hey, you know what? I need to take some of this stress off because our body doesn't know the difference between mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, chemical stressors. Has no idea the difference. It's just showing up to make sure that we continue to function. And so that number of HRV can be a notifier and a trigger for us to say, hey, you know what, Justin, my body's not really liking what I'm doing right now. I'm sympathetically stressing my body at an overloaded state, thus is going to start disrupting myself hormonally, and thus is not going to allow my adrenal glands to truly eliminate everything that it needs to, and thus going to put me in a downward spiral of energy loss, energy fluctuation, and over a long period of time, a chronic illness. And that is how we ultimately earn the diseases that we get. It's not like we wake up overnight and it's like, oh, look at this, diabetes. Oh, look at this, chronic fatigue. We don't know. We earn them. We earn them through our habits. We earn them through our behaviors. We earn them through our lifestyles. And the only way we're able to restore, redeem, and renew ourselves is through rest, is through integrating and establishing that parasympathetic activation. And that looks different for everybody because we don't know what organ systems aren't operating properly. We don't know what inner systems are not operating at its highest level. But once we know the language of our body, once we can determine what's actually happening, we take ownership back of ourselves. We take back the control of our health. And boy, does that become a fun ride.
Yes. Well said. Absolutely.
Dr. Jimmy, where can people find you? Where can people get access to you, more information, you and your practice?
Yeah, they can find me on social media. I'm actually all over social media at Achieve Integrative Health. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. That's where I'm most known. I'm known as TikTok acupuncturist. Got 1.1 million followers on TikTok and Instagram. So at Achieve Integrative Health.
Love that. And we'll tag both of those in the comments, in the DMs here down below, so that you guys can find Dr. Jimmy and make sure that you guys can have access to him. Dr. Jimmy, if I was to ask you in a word or a phrase, what would be your definition of ownership?
Let me use a phrase.
There we go.
All right. So it's taking full responsibility, being responsible for everything that happens to you and being responsible for everything that does not happen to you.
I love that. Taking full responsibility for everything that happens to you and everything that does not happen to you. Think about that for a minute, listeners. It's pretty empowering, but also pretty powerful at the same time. So as you guys go forward, as you guys step powerfully into whatever season, whatever phase, whatever stage of your life you're in, let's come back to this understanding that it's not a pill that we're after. It's not a supplement we're after. It's not a tool that we're after. It's about true integrative health. It's about the holistic being, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. What does that look like for you? What area are you missing out on? What area are you maybe operating at a lesser capacity than you truly could be? Do you know the language of your body? Do you understand what your body's communicating with you day in and day out? Do you know where you are? It's so easy to understand where we want to go, but if we don't know where we are today or on a day-to-day basis, we will stay lost forever because we don't know if we need to turn right or if we need to turn left. And the more that we can have a real dialed in understanding as to where we are today, just like you know where you are in business today, if you can know where your body is at every day, you can get to where you're going faster, more efficiently, and feel truly restored, redeemed, and renewed in the life that you deserve to live. We know success is different, so own your different, and we'll see you guys next week.